All right, everybody, welcome. Another episode of Insurance 360. I'm here with my good friend Rob, as always.
What's up, sir?
What's going on?
I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling like a winner today.
You feeling what?
I'm feeling like a winner today.
A winner. Well, this is our official post-Olympic episode because everybody had to be watching the Olympics, man. It was just like, and I got some thoughts on the Olympics. I think there's some things they could probably do a little better,
Look, man, all I'm saying is quad god. Guy can flip, all right?
Yeah.
I can barely walk up and down stairs without getting winded. This guy's doing 360s in the air, so.
Yeah, well, I think this was officially the most gold medals the U.S. has ever had in the Winter Olympics. If I'm remembering correctly, somebody said that.
Yeah, and there was a really important one in there, too, where I think it's
Several.
been 46 years
Oh,
since our last
man.
victory.
Yeah, no, it was great. Not only did the men come through in Olympic ice hockey, but also the women. So here's my first fix. First off, we got good with us today, a good friend of us, because we are going to talk a lot about what's going on in the Medicare world. So Mr. Trevor Braun, our good friend from Physicians Mutual, also AKA the Cajun Medicare guy. Trev, what's going on, my friend? Thanks for being with us.
The Medicare Edu-Cajun, you got to get it right.
Medicare, I love it. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So now a lot going on, but speaking of the Olympics, Trev, you an Olympics guy?
I did watch some of it. My family was we were in Disney last week. So in between all the rides and the theme parks, definitely got a little bit of Olympics in.
Yeah, no, I feel you. So here's my first fix on the Olympics. So I think I love the competitiveness of it and the athleticism, it's off the charts. But this is not just winter and summer. If it's not an event where you have to pick a winner with judges, they're out. They're out. Get rid of the ice skating. Get rid of the gymnastics. I know. Don't send me the hate mail. Send it to Rob. I'm not saying it's not super athletic and it's not cool to watch. But, man, if I got to worry about the judge from Romania, and 0.2 of a point, I don't know. I need somebody to go over the finish line first.
Yeah.
That's my first opinion on the Olympics.
That and the point system. Look, I know nothing about figure skating, obviously. But you watch the point system and they have it up in the corner and it's just like ticking. And I'm like, how do you judge that? Like, how is that guy's, 180, 360 turn different than that girl's 180, 360 turn? And why did he get more points or she get more points?
I know. I just feel like it's all rigged in some way. Trev, I'm not saying it's rigged, but what are your thoughts on the point scoring systems of the Olympics?
Man, I'm with you. I like to have a definitive winner. And it seems like with the point system, especially when you do have judges from so many different countries, some of that stuff is probably subjective. So yeah, man, I am absolutely right there with you. I tell you what, the thing that always gets me with the Olympics, in regular sport, you have seasons, you have multiple games. You're training in between those games. You have a rough game, you have a win, you have a loss, so on and so forth. But just to imagine the immense pressure on these men and women that have been training for the last 4 years for one moment. I mean, they have to absolutely have ice running through their veins to be able to perform on a world stage like that. I mean, it is absolutely. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It's great.
Yeah, and I think I always go back to the one word that I feel like, and I actually wrote a blog on this. It transcends profession. It transcends sports. It's grit. I mean, grit to me is that just like you're not giving up. If you have a little bit of a bad moment, I mean, they don't just collapse. Like, it's just that mindset. And it goes to not only sports, but really the culture in businesses really has a lot to do with it as well. I think we're always going to have those moments where we're not at our best and something goes wrong. your rate increase is a little bit higher this year than you'd like, right? There's always, we can translate into the businesses that we do. But, if you got that grid, it's sort of like, all right, I got it. We're gonna do better, and we're gonna right the ship, and we're not gonna collapse, right? And that's what I love about those athletes. They're just billions of people really are watching across the world.
But I think at the end of the day, and this is why I think humans will always be separated from AI, right? Because you get the machines, right? What makes us human is the adversity you go through, right? But it's how you respond and where you come out on the other side of that. It's not necessarily the adversity itself, it's who you are after the adversity. And I think that's what really makes us human. A lot of people we all learn different. We all pick things up differently. And I saw some stumbles. I saw a couple things at the Olympics, and you would have never, they probably in their head were killing themselves for the mistake they made that for us was like a blip, right? You could barely see it. But these guys, I mean, it was just incredible to watch. Just in awe with some of the different. Yeah. I keep saying 360s, but I mean the amount of flips I saw, and I mean the skiers going down 100 miles an hour and
the downhill. Yeah, that's you don't recognize how fast they're going. I think even from looking at it on TV, as opposed to when you're there. I mean, they're legit like flying down those hills. Like those turns are crazy that they're making.
Well, what's her? What was the main one? The main girl that came back. She tore her ACL.
Oh, Lindsey Vonn, right? Yeah.
She tore her ACL the week before and still decided to do it, which was crazy because you need your ACL to make turns. But then she ended up having a compound fracture when she went down. I mean, she has to get like multiple surgeries to fix her leg.
It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, Trev, top of your head. We haven't done any prep work on this. Give me top couple of Olympic sports that you watch. What are the top couple?
So specifically for this Winter Games, it again kind of came down to what I had an opportunity to watch. And I would say the two, I don't know. I'm gonna put three out there, just because there was three main events that I got to watch. One was the hockey, and being a Cajun down here in South Louisiana, we don't have a ton of hockey. However, that was just phenomenal. I mean, men and women coming away with gold victories over Canada. That was pretty epic. The half pipe stuff, man. The half pipe skiing, phenomenal. Speaking of 360s and 1080s and whatever, that is absolutely insane. That was wild. And then, man, what do you call it? The luge. Those.
All right, luge guy.
Sorry. The bobsledding. Yeah. So brings me back to one of the all-time classics, Cool Runnings. Growing up and watching that one as a kid.
That's good old school bobsled knowledge there. Cool Runnings.
The Jamaican bobsled team, man. But I mean, they're hitting 80 miles an hour in these things, and I mean, just one tiny slip, one wrong turn, it just that's crazy.
Yeah. The funny thing too is you had Snoop Dogg down there.
Oh, he is classic.
He's interviewing the Jamaican bobsledding team, and he's just throwing in casual references, and they're all laughing. And it's like Snoop's everywhere. Awesome. He's everywhere now. Him and Martha Stewart, she was there too.
Yeah, and another unpopular opinion probably, and I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion, but people don't want to say it because it's something, I don't know what it is. It's the curling. It's like shuffleboard to me on ice. Like I'm not sure how I watch it and I'm like, I don't know why I'm watching this.
I don't know what's going on.
And then there was like cheating. Like if they add fighting to curling, like they were yelling
at
each other. Somebody? Like I think I could get into that.
I agree with you.
But yeah, the curling, but underrated sport, which is total James Bond. If you haven't watched it, it's the biathlon. They're skiing, then they stop to shoot their guns at targets. So it's shooting and skiing combined.
That's pretty cool.
The biathlon. Who came up with this? Who the hell knows?
Probably somebody from like 1890, because that's all they had was skis and guns.
They're skiing with a gun over their shoulder. Then they stop and they start shooting at targets, and then they go start skiing again. It's great.
You would think you would have to be born from, like some ancient hunting method.
It's awesome. Yeah. Now the Olympics are always cool. Just to see everything that comes out of it. The patriotism, hopefully, we get out of it. I think is just huge. I just love it. Just seeing everybody celebrate the countries, and it's super cool.
I don't know if you follow the White House on X, but even the White House tweeted out a picture after the hockey game of an eagle with its talon basically crushing a goose. Was it a goose or
the Canadian?
The Canadian goose. That was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I love that stuff, man. Yeah, but there's always a lot going on that comes around. I like how they changed it. It's every 2 years. You go summer, winter, where it used to be 4 years.
Yeah.
If you remember way back in the day, where it was like 4 years and they would do them both the same time. So I do like it better this way that
they alternate. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but we got a lot going on, man. A lot going on in our world. Trev, I know you guys are on top of this stuff, and that's why I'm so glad that you joined us. But Medicare, listen, we live and breathe it 24/7, and I think when we talk about it, this is sort of like the training and the practice that our Medicare agents do. Man, we're always learning. There's always changes going on, and we got to be on top of things. And in the MA world, we know things are going crazy. I mean, and Trev, with the med subs, listen, talk to me a little bit about, I mean, they've always been standardized, but it's almost like now it's a whole different world. The Medicare Advantage products aren't even in a lot of areas. The networks, they're not even taking half of the carriers. So for the insurance agents, especially those that haven't already looked at med sub, you have to now, right? Like, give me that med sub versus MA and how they work together, because I think a Medicare agent has to have both of them.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And of course it's market disruption on both sides. I mean, it is just absolutely crazy. I know you guys have been in the business for a long time. This will be my 20th year in the business, and I can't ever recall A, there being so much disruption, and B, there being so much of a need for diversification. There's so many agents, I think, over the years that have gotten to the business. They've jumped straight into one of two sides and just kind of stuck with that. And it is extremely important for agents to be able to understand and confidently relay to the prospect their options. And when I'm training, to me, the major factors that come down to that decision, or, for those that actually, do have the option of either original Medicare or Medicare Advantage, not under any type of, special constraints, anything like that, is freedom and control. How much freedom and how much control do you want to have over your healthcare? And that's the question that we really need to be asking our prospects, because you're right. Plans are changing, benefits are changing, the access to providers is changing. I looked at it just the other day, and it was talking about, at least in the fourth quarter of 2025. The access to providers with Medicare Advantage was running about 40, in the 40% range, 42, 45, depending on where I was looking, as opposed to 98% access on the original Medicare side. And those are all factors that, agents and clients alike really, really need to understand. And I think another major misconception is that if you're on a PPO, you can go anywhere. Of course, it does allow broader access than an HMO, but the provider still has to agree to accept the plan's fee schedule. So it all comes down to education, and that's what I love about you guys so much, is you are so proactive. You're out there, you're bringing wonderful content to agents to ultimately be able to help the prospects, who are the most important piece of this entire equation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, it makes total sense. Access to care is really a big topic right now. It's on the forefront, especially with what's going on with the MA world. So it's a great point to keep in mind. And I think, you know, one of the things I know that agents get a little freaked out about is with the med sup, obviously there could be underwriting, right? But I think there's a lot of circumstances where agents may not recognize that they may not have to go through underwriting. First off, there's some states that don't have any underwriting. There's certain states that'll do that. There's certain states that have our birthday rules, which I think we can talk a little bit more about the impact that the birthday rules are having on the industry, the med sup industry in general.
Yeah.
And then there's other circumstances where it's, you know, coming off of employer or, you know, even just, you know, hey, you were on a med sup, then you're on an MA, you can go back to a med sup. There's all these other rules that come into play. So when you look at the Medicare supplement, I mean, realistically, you got probably a 90% chance to get coverage. I mean, what do you see from internally at physicians? You know, the decline rates are not very high in general on a med sup. So, you know, talk a little bit about how agents can sort of navigate that world, like that aren't used to it because MAs always, you know, accept, you know, automatically.
Right, absolutely. So number one, it comes down to education of the agent, right? Understanding what state specific rules are, as you said, based on underwriting, based on birthday rule, based on anniversary rule. You know, with that, also understanding what the guarantee issue rights are. You know, you mentioned some of them outside of birthday rule, anniversary rule. There are 7 guarantee issue rights that can be found in the Choosing a Medigap Buyer's Guide that's put out every single year. And it's important to know and understand those because that can certainly help you to help your client navigate, you know, having the opportunity to get back onto original Medicare and Medicare supplements. So all of those are big factors. Another thing is understanding the actual underwriting piece of the puzzle because you know where guarantee issue and birthday rules and anniversary rules all this can be great and sound great for the client, it's not necessarily great for the med sup carriers because there's zero adverse selection, right? And how do carriers protect their rates? How do they protect their loss ratios? By being able to have a mix of risk, if you will. So I think it's equally as important to understand the underwriting side of Medicare supplements as it is the guarantee issue side, and making sure that the agent is doing as a responsible of a job as they can as a field underwriter to be able to spread that risk around, if you will because I know we probably will get into rate increases and things impacting the increased rates in the Medicare supplement market that we're seeing today. But that is a major one, you know, the lack of adverse selection when you have the birthday rule states, when you have PPOs pulling out of areas, which does trigger a GI right for the client to go on any Medigap you know, so on and so forth. So I think both sides are very, very important to understand. And when it comes to the underwritten piece, just get comfortable with medical underwriting. I think a lot of agents just have in their head that they don't want to tell the client no. They don't want to tell the client that they're being turned down. But I mean, guys, people are used to hearing the word no. You know, and the worst thing that an agent, I believe, can do, especially in a birthday rule state, is just not attempt to underwrite ever. Just wait for their birthday and then just move them to a carrier GI. I mean, if a person has an opportunity, especially in a birthday rule state, to be able to move, you know, from a one med sub carrier to another, why not go ahead and try to underwrite them? It helps to protect the carrier's rates long term, and you're not having your client paying those higher premiums on whatever carrier you're moving to for the next several months until their birthday occurs.
Yeah, it's really true, and we talk a lot about the rate increases here because med sup I mean, the last couple of years, we've seen the bigger rate increases coming.
This past
And
year was rough.
yeah, but I think it's probably more the new norm. You know, we still say COVID somehow, but we know post-COVID, the sort of the utilization went way up, right? People weren't getting things done, and then utilization happened. But I think one of the big things that also happened was there was a ton of fraud. I mean, we joke about it, but we talk about the medical equipment, and you know, we talked about the fact that one carrier found all this fraud with, you know, catheters being ordered by the thousands, and it was sort of like, hey, why do they need to order thousands of catheters? Like, you know, there was like, you know, so, you know, the fraud is real and it's billions of dollars. So I know the carriers are doing, you know, what they can to sort of get a handle on that. And we've even seen a lot of stuff with the government talking about the fraud that's in Medicare and what's going on there. And I almost feel like it's become such a political issue that you can't even get agreement in the government to fight fraud in a way. It's sort of like, well, you can't point out the fraud if it's, you know, based on a certain group because God forbid, but you know, we got to get a handle on this fraud. So you've got to point it out and put a spotlight wherever it is, and you got to make a determination like, hey, we got to get this out because that'll help save the insurance companies and consumers.
Taxpayers.
Yeah, a lot of money, right? Like, how much is fraud impacting you guys still? Is it still like, you know, every topic of conversation?
Yeah, and it's really not a carrier problem, you know, an individual carrier problem. It's much broader than that, like you're saying. I mean, it's all of Medicare, and yeah, I mean, when there's fraud, waste, and abuse, all that's going to do is drive up premiums because it drives up claim cost. It drives up, you know, the loss ratios, which medical loss ratios is the prime factor that insurance companies use to gauge what they need to do for their rates. Because, you know, I mean, we want to keep things, we collectively want to keep things as affordable as we can. But at the same time, I mean, you know, insurance is a for profit business. So, you know, companies have to make sure that they are making a profit so that they can continue to operate, to be able to pay the agent, to be able to protect and you know, pay for things for the consumer. So yeah, fraud's a big deal. And I know, you know, Rob, you jokingly brought up AI earlier, but I do know that that's one of the major tools that is being implemented with CMS is, you know, more oversight, more automated oversight in fraud, waste, and abuse. You know, from a an AI perspective, it is just, I guess, more efficient. And as it continued to evolve, I mean, it is scary to think about where, you know, AI is going to go. And I'm sure you could have a total series of podcasts on predictions with AI and how that's affecting the industry and our world, you know, in general. But there's not a ton of, you know, prior authorization on the Medicare side. You know, obviously it is everywhere on the MA side. But you know, I mean, that is something that I think is bringing, you know, or being put a little bit more into the limelight, is more of this automated prior authorization with original Medicare behind the scenes to help to weed some of that fraud out, you know, to hopefully decrease some of that spend. Because, yeah, not only is it hurting Medicare supplement companies with unneeded claims being paid, but it's hurting the industry as a whole. I mean, these are billions of dollars that are not going towards lengthening and strengthening the original Medicare program. It's going towards fraud. And yeah, I agree. We got to get a handle on it somehow.
Yeah. No, you brought up a good point. I was going to mention this because we know Medicare Advantage federal program, CMS oversees it, and original Medicare and then subsequently Medicare supplement is really not overseen by CMS, but we are seeing that toe get dipped in the water a little bit with prior authorization with original Medicare now, with the idea being, you know, combating, you know, fraudulent costs or wasteful costs, you know, some of these different things. Um, Well, I don't know. I think that's the direction it's going to go in, and it's probably going to have some type of AI component to it where they're searching for anomalies. Do we say, hey, CMS, you know, don't get involved in this? Like, at the end of the day, we don't really. I don't think CMS is not listening, Trev. So you don't have to worry about it. But we don't. I don't know that we want CMS necessarily having their handhold on Med Sup the way they do on MA, but it looks like they're getting involved a little bit on that. So, are you seeing anything on the prior auth side at this point? Is it still just sort of a testing that we feel like?
Yeah. Now, a lot of people don't realize that there has always been a little bit of prior authorization on the original Medicare side. I know it's mainly talked about on the MA side. And we could get into why and different reasons. I have a whole philosophy on all that, but we can save that for another time. But it's really not prior auth on the Med Sup, right? It's all on the original Medicare piece. Med sups are still going to be, at least now, governed by the individual state departments of insurance. But if they can stop that at the original Medicare level and stop some of this stuff from occurring, period, before the Med sup even gets involved, I don't see that being an issue. I really don't, because, like you said, something has to be done to curb the billions of dollars of fraud, waste, and abuse. And if CMS utilizing AI to help to decrease that is going to be able to help the overall Medicare system, which ultimately is going to help the seniors, who are the ones that, again, are the focal point of this entire deal. Um, Worth a shot, in my opinion.
I mean, if you say two words together and it's government and efficiency, I don't tend to add a positive correlation to both of
A
those
little bit of an
things.
oxymoron, I would agree.
So, I'm a tech guy. I'm a proponent of adding it where it's needed. I think in that aspect, AI should help improve some of the efficiency. Um, Large data sets, it can come through it really quickly, rather than having 10 employees who, take their hour lunch, leave at exactly 5, or don't show up. I'm going to bet on AI every time to kind of win that argument. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, look, I think you're going to start to see a lot more of things like agentic AI, which we could also have a whole podcast on itself. That's becoming crazy. And I think that's going to play a key factor into a lot of these things where things are just going to be running. There's not going to be a time frame anymore. You're going to have things that are running while we're asleep, right?
Right.
And I think from an efficiency standpoint, bringing it back to the government, how many holidays does the government have now? We added a couple new ones this year, I think.
Plenty of them.
AI doesn't have holidays, right? So I think from an efficiency standpoint, you're going to have a lot more capabilities put into an area that needs them. So hopefully, from a rate perspective, and Medicare as a whole, things will get a little bit better every year.
Yeah, just curious, Trevor, just thinking about this now, we've always talked about MedSup and it's standardized plans. And, over the years, it's sort of just been price. Like, compare the prices. If you save $2, you can move somebody. But, are we going to start seeing some of the stuff and physicians, as far as I know, is the only one doing anything. I'll give you guys a little bit of plug right now because I don't know anybody else that's even doing it. It's sort of like making some variations on those standardized plans. So you've got your innovative G, for example, which is a little bit different, right? It's is that going to be a way that some of the carriers can start maybe combating some of these Medicare Advantage changes, having some of these, or is it the high deductible G, which I don't think has really gotten the adoption that, maybe carriers wanted to have or whatnot. But, when you talk about, you explain what the innovative G is, but talk about, the philosophy behind, making some of those unique plans.
Absolutely. So, as Rob was talking, it to me kind of goes back to if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, the system's broken right now, so there needs to be some kind of fix, some kind of course correction. And a lot of agents think that the innovative is a newer product, a newer idea. And the main reason for that is, Physicians Mutual really just in the past few years, as you guys are aware, moved away from the career agent space to the broker space. So it is not a new product. We patented the innovative back in 2008. When we were on the Plan F train, and I think that the patent was due to seeing what was happening to the loss ratios on the Plan F. And we all know what has happened to the Plan F. Now, I mean, not making any dead set predictions, but it certainly seems like the Plan G, the Plan N, the more comprehensive Medicare supplement plans are starting to go that way. And it all boils down to exposure on the insurance company. So the philosophy behind the innovative product is to be able to give the customer a lifetime of savings. And, as you guys are aware of, some agents may not be, but it starts out with the same benefits as a high deductible plan G. And then over time, which depending on the effective date in 2 to 3 years, is going to automatically graduate to a regular comprehensive plan G. And the customer will have those comprehensive plan G benefits for the rest of their life while maintaining a discounted premium. So it's a temporary plan deductible, kind of reposition in our mind as an out of pocket max, because that's really what it is, to be able to afford that customer a lifetime of savings. And what we've seen over the last 18 years is, jokingly internally, they say that the plan deductible is the best underwriter that Physicians Mutual has ever hired, because someone who's getting on to Medicare at 65 or beyond 65, whenever new to Medicare, if they have some major health stuff going on, they are probably not going to choose the innovative or the high deductible plan. So just right out of the gate by design, it does attract a healthier client. And then, of course, in those first 3 years or so, kind of insulated from the smaller nickel and dime Part B claims, that type of deal, which again just gives a much healthier block of business, much lower loss ratio. And yeah, I truly believe that carriers and agents alike really need to start getting more comfortable with the cost sharing plans, because with the way that everything's going, with for all of the reasons that we've been talking about, that I believe is the future. I mean, looking at rates of Plan Gs, I mean, again, how are we selling? I say we collectively as an industry selling Plan Gs at a similar price point as we were 20 years ago. Like that is just not sustainable, especially with the increase in fraud, waste, and abuse, with the increase of claims cost utilization post COVID, and all these other things that we're talking about. There has to be more of that cost sharing onus put on the customer. And one other point I want to make that I think resonates with a lot of people is, and this is kind of a multiple point, but one is when you look at the plan deductible, whether it's the innovative or the high deductible, think about it more as an out of pocket maximum. Okay. Because people are used to having an out of pocket max. They've got deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance, up to a worst case scenario, stop loss, out of pocket max. And that's similar to how the high deductible and or innovative under that deductible period works, because the customer is going to be cost sharing with Medicare's deductibles and co-insurance up to that plan's deductible, which in essence is their out of pocket max. The other thing to really make sure that agents understand is not only how Medicare works with the deductibles and co-insurance following, but the fact that when someone gets onto Medicare, they're now dealing with a much lower cost from providers. The Medicare negotiated rate is much, much, much lower than what people are used to seeing when they look at group insurance, they look at underage health insurance. And a really neat tool that we use in our training, everybody's familiar with Medicare.gov, but not many people are familiar with Medicare.gov's procedure price lookup tool, where you can actually, with either the name of a procedure or CPT code, look up certain procedures and see exactly what the national average would be for the cost of that procedure on Medicare alone. Now, I'm not advocating somebody to be out there with Medicare alone without a supplement, but it helps to illustrate in the agent and the client's mind, just how difficult, with lack of a better word, it would be for somebody to really hit that out of pocket max without a major hospital stay. And so, again, just with that innovative plan, kind of given that sweet spot of somebody that doesn't want to have the exposure to really high rate increases because of increased loss ratios on the G's and N's. They like the idea of having a much lower cost plan, but maybe don't want to necessarily think about having that plan deductible for the rest of their life. Because we all know as we age, more stuff falls apart and the more expensive it gets to fix. So the innovative kind of fits in that sweet spot of, hey, while you're younger, while you're healthier, having that plan deductible, graduating to that more full coverage when you're more than likely going to need it, but keeping that cost down for the lifetime of the policy. Sorry, that was long winded.
No, I know, but I think it's
Good
I think
answer.
it's critical. I think we have to continue to innovate because if we don't already know this, there's a lot of pressures on the healthcare system in general, and I think if we just continue to wait for the government to figure it out, every couple of years you get a different administration, different philosophies, different people in there. They're tweaking different things. So as an industry, we've got to be always trying to be creative and innovative and having a long-term approach to things. So that's why I love the idea of doing a product like that because it's just a little bit different. It gives you a little bit different of a story to talk about, and great point for those individuals that are healthier and maybe not doctoring as regularly, looking for some cost savings. Networks, obviously, you don't have to worry about the network like they would on a Medicare Advantage. It makes a lot of sense. And I know we're seeing an increase in the Medicare supplement business. I mean, I know we do a lot more talking about it now on our side of things, where last couple of years, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, it's been pretty flat. And we've seen the MA world grow and growing. I mean, a couple of years ago, we went over the 50% in MA for those Medicare eligibles. We saw that happen. Yeah, we saw that happen. But I mean, I'm sure you're seeing the same stuff. I mean, agents that never talked about MedSup before, they're talking about MedSup now, whether they were forced to because they don't have enough product in their area, or they just are like, listen, we got to make sure we get our hands around some of these other things because you never know what the future is going to hold.
Well, the business tends to just be more stable, in a MedSup. I mean, and you're not doing as much running around, right? If a doctor leaves a network, MedSup stays stable, right? It's that I like to attribute it to like that Honda, right? Where it's got 200,000 miles and it runs just like it did 100,000 miles, right? and that's just, it's stable. I mean, as an agent, I sold more MedSups this year than I ever have, my 11th year in the business. So, I mean, I think that's just a microcosm of what our agents are dealing with. And, I don't know about you, but if I can set it and forget it for a while, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't even want to bring up the PDPs that we're going to have to, because with the MedSup, obviously, you got to talk about the PDPs a little bit. So that's a whole different thing. Listen, not that they were ever a huge money maker. It'd be nice to get some gas money if you're offering it, but I know the agents are still going to help their individual clients, right? It's still going to be, a value that they're bringing. It just makes sense to do that. So when you're selling the MedSup, you still got to talk about the PDP. That's just the way it is. Rob, I know you had some PDPs on the books, but
I lost a lot of money last year, and look, I still write PDPs. I get paid nothing on them, but it's more. What do you always say? More policies in the house.
Yeah.
Persistency increases, right?
Exactly.
3 or more policies, you're looking at that 80-90% range of holding on to someone. They're not just going to leave you. So, yes, in the grand scheme of things, you might not be able to put some gas in your car for that appointment. But in most cases, I mean, these are quick things, and you can sign someone up. I mean, you can sign someone up in 5-10 minutes.
All right, Trev, get your crystal ball out for us because we're up here and we sort of just are running our mouths most of the time, but you're in the trenches, in the carrier. Like, what's the MedSup, the ancillary? I mean, is the trajectory where we want it to be going? Are we getting some of that adoption? Give me the next 2 years, right? What are we seeing? What are we looking at? I mean, are we doing what the things we need to be doing to get the agents on board with selling these other product lines, and are we seeing that adoption?
So, yeah, a lot to unpack there. I would say some yes, some no. Takes a while to turn a big battleship, right? But I mean, whether the agent is doing because it's the right thing to do or they're doing it out of necessity, agents better start cross selling. Being with Physicians Mutual for the past 20 years, growing up in an environment where we were career, mainly recruiting, contracting, training, developing brand new neophyte agents. Those folks didn't have a choice, right? I mean, they had to learn how to fact find. They had to learn how to uncover needs. They had to learn how to position that cross sale conversation in those appointments. Now, I do get it; it can get a little more sticky, on the MA side with the scopes and so on and so forth. But guys, we have to figure out a way. I mean, I think that our industry over the past several years has gotten much more into the mode of just taking orders. Versus actually being a credible educator, being an insurance salesperson, identifying and fulfilling all of the needs that the client has. And again, if nothing else out of necessity, I mean, perfect segue, you guys talking about losing comp on PDPs, PPOs, pulling out of areas, losing comp, and so on and so forth. Your clients need you. And the only way that you're going to be able to, as an agent, stay in this business is if you're able to recoup some of that money to be able to continue to live the standard of living that you're used to doing. And what is the absolute best way to do that? That is to get comfortable with fact finding, uncovering those needs, and cross-selling, and I'm sure that there's several reasons why. I've heard several reasons why over the years agents don't do it. A lot of it is path of least resistance, or maybe they were just never taught, ignorance. But yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is that's going to be important because I mean, when people are leaving individual coverage, especially group coverage, they're used to having their health care. They're used to having their dental insurance. They're used to having cancer insurance. They're used to having, life insurance. They have a 401k that a lot of them have no idea what to do with now that they're retiring. And it is an absolute prime time to being able to earn, that trust, build that rapport while helping them through the complex maze of Medicare. And once you've been able to show your worth to that client, you owe it to them and they owe it to you to be able to help them with some of those other things. So, yeah, we are seeing tremendous growth on the dental side. We're certainly seeing more agents and more agencies push fact finding, push cross selling. So finding a good dental product, finding a good hip product, finding a good final expense life product, getting comfortable with the annuity conversation, not being afraid to bring up cancer insurance. Why would somebody need a cancer policy if they've got a plan G? Because that's not going to cover everything. There's going to be costs associated with a diagnosis like cancer that just doesn't fall under original Medicare or Medicare supplements. And again, when you are educating the client versus pushing product on the client, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable with bringing up these products versus, hey, you want to buy a watch, kind of deals. So, it's to me, it's all about education. It's all about comfort level, stepping outside of that comfort zone and going back to being a true problem solver, a true insurance agent, a detective, figuring out where those problems are and having products in our back pockets to be able to help to plug up those gaps.
Yeah, no, makes a ton of sense, man. No, I love it. Listen, thanks for jumping on with us. I mean, we appreciate it. You're going to be out at our event, right? You're going to be out at our championship event in Vegas. I mean, you want to meet Mr. Trevor live and in person, you come out to the championship event. You and Andrew are going to be out there representing physicians. So we appreciate that. It's going to be a great time. Fun time. I hear there's some things to do in Vegas. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find some things to do that are fun.
Bob's not much of a gambler, so
No,
we're gonna have to bring him with us.
Something about losing money. I don't know. It pains me right here. It like hurts. I lose I lose like $10, and I'm like, I'm out.
It's about the experience, man.
Yeah, I guess so. And just my final words on this episode is, if anybody has an inside track to the Olympic Committee, remember, if you add guns and shooting to most of the events, it will make them more popular. Ice skating, figure skating. Just think of the possibilities. Curling. I'd probably jump on with the curling things if every once in a while they had to shoot something.
Yeah, or if they could brawl, right?
Right, just like hockey curling.
Exactly. They give each other a bad look, whatever, and then it's just it's go time. I'm just some ideas. I'm blowing out there again. Hate mail to Rob, but just. They have to be innovative.
So my email is tbrun.
No, we appreciate it. Now, Trev, thanks again, man. We'll see you soon at our event. And listen, Meds Up. If you're not already selling it, we got to get them going.
Stay innovative, people. Because if you're not, AI will.
Cost sharing's the future. Exactly. Don't be afraid. Educate yourself.
Yeah, man. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Great rest of your day, Trev. Thanks for your time.
Thank you guys very much. Had a great time.
Appreciate it.